a pastor of nearly 40 years just stepped down from the pulpit. Not because his church forced him out, not because the Southern Baptist Convention has a rule requiring it, but because his wife filed for divorce and accused him, in a sworn deposition, of humiliation, intimidation, and emotional neglect. He denies every word of it. And now Geyer Springs First Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas, is left holding the tension between a resignation letter that sounds like integrity and allegations that sound like something else entirely. Let's start with what's actually documented, because this story has already traveled fast and it deserves precision, not speculation. David Hughey became lead pastor of Geyer Springs First Baptist in 2016, after joining the church's staff all the way back in 1992. That's over 3 decades of ministry at one church. His wife, Luann, filed for divorce back in February. The decree was finalized in the Circuit Court of Saline County on June 19th. According to the filing, the couple had been living separately since around January 2025, married since August of 1986. In her deposition, dated June 16th, Luann Hughey stated she was seeking divorce on the grounds of what Arkansas law calls general indignities. For those unfamiliar, Arkansas is a fault divorce state, and general indignities is, according to family law professionals, the most commonly cited ground in the state. It's a broad legal category, but her filing wasn't vague about what she meant by it. She alleged that her husband would humiliate her, intimidate her through his words, speak derogatorily about her character, and that there was ongoing emotional neglect through a lack of bonding. Her words, from the court filing, that this made her life with him intolerable. Pastor Hughey's official response denies all of it. He says the allegations are untrue, that there was no humiliation, no intimidation, no derogatory speech, no emotional neglect, that what they had were normal marital arguments, like any couple. So we have 2 sworn accounts that flatly contradict each other. That matters, and we're not going to pretend it doesn't. Here's where it gets interesting from a governance and accountability standpoint. The Southern Baptist Convention has no official policy disqualifying a divorced pastor from leadership. Hughey himself pointed this out, noting that Charles Stanley and other SBC pastors have remained in ministry after divorce. He wasn't required to step down. Nobody on staff or in lay leadership asked him to. He chose to step down anyway, and he's framed that decision publicly, repeatedly, as one led by God. In his statement to the congregation, he said he felt, "Certain my decision is led by God, and best for our body." To the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, which broke this story, he said it came down to the issue of distraction, that he didn't want to become a distraction to people currently in the congregation, or to people God might bring to the church in the future. He's now listed on the church's website as Director of Pastoral Care and Ministry Support. Not gone. Repositioned. Now, on its face, that's a pastor doing something a lot of ministries never do, stepping back voluntarily, instead of clinging to a title. That deserves to be named plainly. But accountability journalism means we don't stop at the press release. We ask the follow-up questions. Here's the tension this story sits in, and it's worth sitting in it rather than rushing past it. On one hand, divorce alone does not equal disqualification. Marriages end for all kinds of reasons, and plenty of godly, faithful people have gone through divorce without being the villain of the story. If all we had was pastor's wife filed for divorce after nearly 40 years, that's a private grief, not a public scandal. But that's not all we have. What we have is a sworn allegation of a documented pattern: humiliation, intimidation, derogatory speech, emotional neglect, filed under oath, in a legal proceeding, by the woman who spent 4 decades married to this man. And we have a flat, categorical denial from him. Both of those things can't fully be true at the same time. Either Luann Hughey filed a false sworn statement against her husband of 40 years, or David Hughey just told his congregation, and a newspaper, that allegations against him are totally untrue, when they aren't. That's the actual story here. Not pastor gets divorced. It's, which sworn account do we believe? And did the church do any independent inquiry into that question before accepting his framing? Or did they simply accept a graceful-sounding resignation letter and move him into a new role without ever addressing what his wife actually alleged? If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know this shape. A leader resigns voluntarily, frames it as spiritually led, and is quietly repositioned into a lower visibility but still present role inside the same institution, all before the underlying allegations are ever independently investigated or resolved. We've documented that pattern across multiple ministries on this channel, and every time, the question is the same. Is this genuine humility, or is this managed exit? To be fair to Pastor Huey, nothing in the public record here alleges criminal conduct, financial misconduct, or abuse of a subordinate. This is a marital dispute playing out through the divorce courts, and the allegations, as serious as they are about the marriage, not about his conduct toward the congregation or his stewardship of the church. That's a meaningful distinction, and we're not going to collapse it into something it isn't. But it's also not nothing. If a pattern of humiliation and intimidation was happening at home for years, that's not irrelevant to a man's fitness to shepherd a congregation. Scripture doesn't set the bar for eldership at innocent until the divorce decree. It sets the bar at the character of the man's household. That's 1 Timothy 3. That's not this channel's opinion. That's the text. We're not here to convict David Huey on the basis of one court filing. And we're not here to dismiss Luann Huey's sworn allegations because they're inconvenient. What we are here to do is ask the question Geyer Springs First Baptist should be asking right now, before you move this man into a new pastoral care role, a role that still puts him in trusted spiritual authority over hurting people. Did anyone actually investigate what his wife of 40 years said happened behind closed doors? Or did the church accept a well-worded resignation letter and call it discernment? We'll keep tracking this one as it develops. If you want the full picture on how these voluntary step-down patterns tend to play out across evangelical leadership, go watch our Daystar series. The parallels are not subtle. Until next time, stay discerning, stay anchored in the Word, and we'll see you on the next one.